and Rome. When I speak with three hats. So, as Werner said, I am the Executive Director of UNOPS, the only UN organization that has its headquarters here in Copenhagen. We run pretty much like a private business, and we only focus on implementation. So we are a rare bird in the UN family. I'm also head of the UN country team in Copenhagen, meaning dealing with a lot of colleagues on what are common issues, mainly related to the services of this house, but also security. The third is that I am member of the management leadership team of the SG, the Secretary General. So that allows me at a strategic level also to work on issues like the reform together with him and my colleagues. I report to an executive board. So Ib is my president and he chairs the board where 36, I think, member states circulate, of course with some of the permanent members in the Security Council always on the board, but actually it is a board structure that helps me engage on a regular basis with, of course, the members of the board, but also as permanent representatives from member states. I see a lot of known faces, but also new faces. So my introduction will be fairly high level, and I hope to have also the opportunity to interact with you afterwards. But as I mentioned, I come from a perspective of implementation, so I have to warn you up front, maybe some of my thoughts are actually colored by that perspective too. You will remember that in 2015, the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, were adopted. They are truly global, so it is not focused actually on the UN. It is focused on how the member states, how countries in the world will work to achieve a sustainable future. And to achieve those 17 goals, it has up front been accepted and noted that it will require money far beyond the official development aid. Only implementation of goals focusing on infrastructure is showcased in the Addis Ababa document as costing $2.5 trillion per year. And remember, development aid is only $150 billion. So this is actually coloring UN approach, because UN needs to understand what smart role it can take. Of course, looking on the past where it was successful, but mainly looking at the future. What do we need to do to be successful also in the future, taking a smart role to help the countries achieve the SDGs. It is not only about what has been adopted, it is also facing the world as it is. And I think we are reminded every day about crisis, humanitarian crisis, conflicts. It is not always important and easy to take the long-term perspective. It is how you deal with short-term challenges, but also help planning in a longer-term perspective. And I think all these things that I mentioned come together as a commonly recognition that UN needs to change. It demands actually a more efficient way of working. And when the new Secretary General took office in January, he stated up front actually 8 guiding principles for UN reform. I will not list them, but they include accelerating transition to the 2030 agenda. In sort of normal wording, I think this is how can UN take a smart role. It is a stronger focus on financing for development. As I mentioned, we need funding far beyond the official development aid that are used in a sustainable manner. It is about accountability. And it is, of course, the need for a stronger, cohesive UN voice at a regional level. And I could go on, but I will not give more details. Because in these priorities, he was also very clear that we need to think more prevention. We know it is hard, but it's cheaper to be more proactive on prevention. So prevention is key to all his priorities. How do we actually turn things more focused on prevention? But his 3 priorities he established was to make the UN better at preventing and ending armed conflicts and protecting civilians during crisis. It was to make UN a more efficient, effective tool for countries to achieve their sustainable development goals, so supporting countries in achieving the sustainable development goals. And it was to simplify the UN bureaucracy. He has promised 2 reports to respond to the member states' concerns and thoughts and requests. It is called the quadrennial, I think is the right comprehensive review. No, there is one letter more. He has told us not to use this abbreviation. So when I say the QCPR program review, that is actually what is guiding his reports. He has submitted 1 report to the member states on the overarching principles, and more detailed reform thoughts will come at the end of the year. These 3 things that I said, address conflicts, address development, reform management, sounds simple, but it's not. We know it. We have a lot of work ahead.